In this video, you're gonna see me slowly fall in love with a mountain town in Honduras. Passive-aggressively threaten local parrots.
Is it because I eat too much? Don't worry, I won't steal your food.
And be amazed by the biggest Mayan ruins in the entire world.
Right now, I feel like an Indiana Jones styles explorer, just walking in the Mesoamerican jungle looking for forgotten history and people just have been long lost.
Welcome to the second part of my journey to Honduras and Guatemala. In the last part, we ended at the bus terminal in San Pedro Sula, waiting for my bus to take me to Copan Ruinas. And well, here it is. Oh, wait. Did you hear that? Cue the montage music.
Mamacita, vámonos de fiesta. Y ahora en mi corazón tú estás. Y ya no quiero a nadie más. Contigo me quiero pasarla. Mamacita, vámonos de fiesta. Desde que te vi, buscaba una así. Desde que te vi, buscaba una así. Y por fin te conseguí. Te vi, yo me enloquecí, buscaba una así y por fin te conseguí. Desde que te vi, yo me enloquecí, buscaba una así y por fin te conseguí. Y ahora en mi corazón tú estás y ya no quiero a nadie más. Contigo bien quiero pasarla, mamacita, vámonos de fiesta. Y ahora en mi corazón tú estás y ya no quiero a nadie más. Contigo bien quiero pasarla, mamacita, vámonos de fiesta. Desde que te vi, buscaba una así. Desde que te vi, buscaba una así. Y por fin te conseguí.
Oh, finally arrived at Copan Ruinas. I might as well be dead because the cramped seats on the chicken bus, insane humidity, and the driving of the driver really did not help. Oh my god. You know, in Central America, Fast and Furious is not an American blockbuster. It's a documentary. The driver drives faster than I would do in a sports car. And it's carrying like 40 people more than the bus is qualified to do. Well, but that's all behind us. Let's go check out what this little historical town has to offer. Just give me a second, I need a break.
6.5 hours later.
After a quick nap, I began exploring the flower-filled cobble streets of Copan Ruinas, and I quickly found myself walking among history. In the city square, strangely carved statues dotted around the place, finished with a variety of tropical plants, and a few street artists slowly humming away their afternoon. But I didn't have too much time to enjoy the tranquil ambience because I decided to follow some of the locals' instructions to walk up the steep hill that eventually led me to the citadel, an abandoned old military barracks that is now turned into a playground, as well as an vantage point overlooking the entire town, surrounded by jungle in all directions that I could see. But first, I had to explore the courtyard, but there was nobody there. An old guard standing outside told me that this place was supposed to be a big museum, but sadly, the pandemic has forced it to shut down. But still, I could walk around and see some really interesting replicas of the stelas that are very prominent in the ruins themselves, just a few kilometers out of the town. They are all finished in bright red, just as the real ones used to be thousands of years ago.
And this museum was sadly closed due to the pandemic. The House of the Sun. And you can see a vast majority of the ruins are actually situated in northern Guatemala around Tikal. And here in Honduras, you only have this, which is where we are at. Wow, we are now inside the castle, what the locals call castle, and the guard told me that this used to be an old military station, so of course it has gorgeous views. So let's go into one of these towers and explore it. Okay, the ladders look a little bit steep. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna turn the camera off now.
After coming back down to the central square, I found myself being mobbed by hundreds of birds as I was trying to communicate with some ladies selling fruits using my garbage Spanish. Well, I'll let them do the talking then.
And this one they call it cocota. See? Cocota. Very sour, very hard. No es jugoso, it's not juicy. I don't know why they like it. No sé por qué te gusta, pero para mí es el peor. To me that's the worst thing. Like, es peor. Sí, no voy a cocinar eso y nunca voy a comer esto. Pero en San Pedro Sula y otros lugares a la gente le gusta esto, ¿sí? Es la mayoría de Honduras y Guatemala también. Ah, claro, gracias. Okay, for dinner, I am having the local Honduran specialty. It's called pupusa. Pupusa is basically tortilla made of corn and flour, but with fillings. So, so hard. So, if you open it up, you see it has fillings inside, and it is very good. And for some strange reasons, the restaurant is actually having a Chinese movie marathon, so I can actually understand everything. Check it out.
Day 2.
Okay, for breakfast, I found something very local as well. It is called baleada, and it is in a very beautiful little shop lying near the city center. And I saw it yesterday when I passed by. It was filled, jam-packed with locals. So I decided to come here for the breakfast. This is the baleada, and you can see it is just a large tortilla, and inside there's filling. And this is the most deluxe version. It has avocado and eggs. Yeah, costs $1.20. Just imagine that. With my belly bulging, it is time to visit the very thing that this little town is named after. One of the most well-preserved ancient Mayan ruins in the entire world, situated just 1 mile from the town center. And normally people would take the iconic red tuk-tuk, but you know me, I saved $400 by swimming across the Pacific Ocean to land in Canada 10 years ago. So of course, I'll go by foot.
Years ago, I was Chinese.
I passed by the little shops in the suburbs, I passed by little pastures with grazing animals, and eventually I was walking along the highway. After inhaling the sweet aroma of diesel fuel for the next 20 minutes, I finally reached the gates of this UNESCO World Heritage Site. And here we are at the famous Copan Ruinas. This has been a universal heritage since the year of 1980, one of the first ones to get such a title. And hey, just here, you can see there's some coffee. Inside the entrance, a museum features a delicately made 3D model of the entire site, as well as the history of these ruins and a general explanation of the Mayan culture. But as a typical millennial, I blew past all of these words because I can barely read anything that is not animated, and went straight to the forested path that led me to the entrance. And the first thing to greet me was a pair of turkeys? I'm finally at Copan Ruinas. This is one of the major sites of Mayan civilization. I'm really excited. But the problem is, I have to walk even more. This is a humongous site, and apparently there are stairs. But all of the climbing is worth it, because at the top, I was presented with this gorgeous view. An enormous Mayan pyramid in a mega structure was surrounded by lush jungle and dense forest, filled to the brim with the callings of wildlife, monkeys, macaws, crows, and many more. It was as if I was walking towards a set of the newest Indiana Jones movie, and almost everything was presented in its most authentic style. And here is probably one of the most important structures that you have in the entire Copan Ruinas ruins. This is one of the last king's sculpture detailing the history of the entire civilization here. And you can see it has 16 kings, 4 of each carved on one of the sides. It was more like a sentimental piece for him that he wants to record the history. And each one of these kings sits at the top of their own glyph, so their own name. And this is one of the last remaining pieces of clues that we get of the Copan Ruinas Mayan history. And the structures here in the Mayan civilization got to get so big only because of a rather peculiar practice that they have. This is the practice that once a new king decides to build something for himself, he will intentionally do a ritual and break his predecessor's things. For example, a large temple or a dedicated monument. He will intentionally break it and then build on top of it. You see here, in the beginning, it was just a tiny little platform. And then someone built on top of it some kind of religious structure. And then another new king came and built a bigger pyramid on top of it, completely burying the old one. And then here is the current structure, completely encompassing the old one. I can't believe it. I'm actually in a Mayan ruin, and there's basically no protection whatsoever. And yeah, it's just exposed bricks of the old royal quarters, and you can see it's beside me right here. Yeah, and it is all around me. Check it out. Truly incredible experience.
And this is just the first plaza of the entire complex. As I climbed on top of the pyramid that you just saw, I passed by an ancient tomb that was the final resting place of one of the emperors on my way to the second plaza. And spoiler alert, it's only gonna get better from now on.
is truly an incredible experience. I really recommend anyone to come here and pay a visit, no matter how bad the reputation is for Honduras, because really it is very safe. And look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous. All of the ancient ruins that you can ever find. Gigantic pyramids. Ancient culture everywhere. And look how big these are. The walls just extend way beyond the valley. They are a couple stories tall, at least 7-8 stories tall, constructed by ancient humans with their ingenuity.
Descending from the other side of this magnificent pyramid, I was truly blown away by what I saw.
And I'm now at the final courtyard. It is surrounded by gigantic trees growing on the old ruins, and this is absolutely humongous. This is like 2 football stadiums large, and it is surrounded by ancient structures. This is probably one of the best ancient sites and most preserved, but also most approachable one that I've ever been to. Just look at this. Yeah, you can see those old trees growing on top of these stairs. And you can even walk on top of them if you have the stamina, but nobody has that much stamina after seeing the previous 2 plazas. And then the only thing that are a little bit protected are the old stelas. These are probably the most famous feature of the Copan Ruinas. And down there in the cover is the famous ritual stairway. 63 steps, each one of them carved with runes, full of glyphs. And on the other side you see even more stelas. This must be a gigantic city. And in fact, Copan Ruinas, its downfall was probably due to overpopulation. Sorry, apologies for the sound, because there are a lot of large macaws nearby, so they can get quite annoying after a while. During the last king's reign, there were a lot of signs that they basically imported everything. So imagine a country that only imports and never exports. Yeah, it quickly led to a population collapse. And here's Stela N, probably one of the best preserved stelas left here in Copan Ruinas. And you can see this is the king dressed in an old costume. And you can still see the red color that used to drench this entire stela on the ruins. And on the back side, you can see it even more prominently. This should be the queen. And down there is color just as red as blood. And this is probably the most impressive and the most staggering structure of them all, the Hieroglyphic Stairway. This is the longest carving of any Mayan classic literature, and it has more than 2,000 runes carved throughout these 63 steps. When they first discovered it, only the lower 19 steps were visible. And then they slowly discovered more and more and more scattered across the plaza. And they finally was able to interpret it and then reconstruct the entire thing. And sadly, a lot of them were trampled during the visit in the 1960s and 1950s because, surprisingly, at the time, you can walk on these. Yeah. And this is where the Mesoamericans played their ball game. You can see here is the stadium. It's a very, very heavy ball. So it is not your normal soccer that you see these days. And here you see all the stadium. It will be normally filled with people. But that has not been the case for hundreds of years. And here, where I am, is called the Forest of Kings. 7 stelas, 11 altars provide probably the best picture for the ancient Mayan world. And most of these are produced by the 13th ruler. And all of these depict him performing some kind of ritual, usually some kind of human sacrifice or animal sacrifice. And you can see, yeah, behind me, it is all ancient Mayan culture, priceless. And as you have heard, this jungle is full of macaws, large parrots. And this guy has just fed them, so I'm completely surrounded by these large birds. Look, there's one on the tree. And there's quite a few here eating. Whew, they're pretty big. And they're not scared of me at all. Okay, scoot. Okay, they're a little bit scared of me. Is it because I eat too much?
And that's it for my first 2 days here in Copan Ruinas. In the next part, you'll find me meeting the punkest bird on the block. Literally walking across a river.
Oh, he mis tíos. Oh, God help me.
Being invited to attend a local Buddhist ceremony. And frolicking in the sunflower field.
And hey, if you want to see more video like this one, consider clicking around me for a next part or perhaps a similar video, eh? And don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and like this video on your way out. And I'll see you around.